Welcome to Don't You Two Read, a podcast where two sisters talk about all things books.
We're just two girls who found ourselves texting about books on a daily basis and thought, why not turn on a mic?
We'll be talking about our recent reads, a weekly bookish topic, and what we're looking forward to reading next.
So grab a cup of coffee and maybe even a snack and be prepared to take down your TBR and add a lot to it as we talk all things books.
I don't actually have an intro.
We never do.
I just make it up by the seat of my pants. Okay. I'm Hilary, a mom in Oklahoma, and I am probably going to be in a book funk.
And I'm Hannah, a stay-at-home mom in Texas who has been having a terrible podcast week.
This is episode 35, and hi, we're so glad that you're here. So today, this is going to go under the We Are Doing What We Want episodes. So today, super last minute, Hannah and I are going to do a deep dive into Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. But Hannah, it's been a bad week. I'm sorry. I know you've been having storage issues.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's like it comes in waves where the iCloud, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain the problem. There's just iCloud storage, laptop storage. Nobody's happy. I don't know. But it hit the breaking point where it wouldn't even show my files. And anyway, we had a mentee bee, as I call it. And yep, but here we are. It's working now. I had to get the professional involved, aka Joshua. But
Yeah, we are amateurs for sure in this process. We're just figuring it out.
this is I'm like editing episode 34 at the time. I'm like, how am I having like a problem? You would think by episode 34 that it's like, okay, here we go, bust it out. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
yeah, no.
It's always something. Yeah, pivot. But we're here. We made it. Yeah, okay, so that's how my reading week, okay, so let's talk about this. We're talking about Rebel Witch specifically, just that book. I will say, so this book came out a week from today. No, sorry, a week ago today. I did not get it a week ago today. I got it late because and a lot of the country honestly had a big ice storm, and my package was delayed days. And so I didn't get it until like Thursday evening. And so I didn't start this book until Friday, I think. And Friday night maybe, and I finished it to Monday night. So I read it fairly quickly. I feel like over the weekend I read it, and I stayed up super late last night. I don't even know how late, but it kept me up, and I knew like I was almost gonna finish it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna push myself to finish it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I finished it last night. Hannah had hers early because of Book of the Month.
But not only that, because I also got randomly picked from NetGalley for they
An
did, what is
arc,
that?
right?
The wish list. Yeah. Wish
Oh,
list
wish list. I
art.
didn't know that's why.
Yes, because I did not request it. It was never available to me personally. I clicked wish
Oh.
list and they were like, congratulations, your wish has been granted. And I was like, what? So I had the ebook and then I actually read it from the ARC and then Book of the Month. So I did both. But yeah, it was great. Great
And I
time.
read it on paper, and so it all worked out in the end. Um, so yeah, let's talk. So I asked Hannah if she could. This is going to be extremely informal, but I did ask her if she could give us like a very, very quick synopsis of not the whole book, just like where we left off in book one. So, and by the way, this will be full of spoilers for book one and book two. So listen as you want. Make your own decision.
Should I only talk about the ending of Heartless Hunter?
Sure, just like where we left off.
I mean, okay, so everything I feel happened at the very, very end. I'm trying to even think where we start, but basically everything's happening.
Gideon discovers Rune.
Yes, she knows he's hunting her. And at something happens, there's like a bomb or something, and then she believes that he was in there and that he died. So she is like, I don't even care. Like she has a whole mental breakdown. She's like, I don't care that he's trying to hunt me. Like she's devastated. I feel like this is the moment, the pivotal moment that she's like, okay, no, like I accept it that I do love him. Because the
Hmm.
whole time she's kind of like, oh no, like, I don't know, tiptoeing
Denial.
around it. Yeah, denial. She knows it. We know it, but she's like still fighting it. So at this moment, she's like, no, like devastated, thinking at the possibility of him being gone. So she rushes to his apartment and she's like sobbing and thinking that he died because he's not home. And he comes home and he's like, well, hello, what's going on? And she's like, I thought you died, and freaking out. So then at this point, this is when the deed happens, when they both are like, okay,
They realized they cared about each other.
yeah, but I have grievance. I have grievance because in the end of that book, I did not personally feel convinced that Gideon truly loved Rune. And my argument is that I don't think he truly knew Rune. He still had this idea in his mind.
Because he discovered who she was at the very end, right? Like he's bringing her a dress, like,
Yes,
or
he's
was that what it was when he brought her the dress and then she left her door open or whatever?
yes. And then he goes into her casting room
Yes,
with the
yes.
books and stuff. So, but like he is in total delusion because he has like, I don't see any scars. I don't see any casting scars. I don't
Yeah.
like no, like he's convinced himself like again, delusion. Um
Hmm.
and the whole thing is like as soon as he finds out that she is a witch, he's like to the gallows.
Yeah, he did her very
So
dirty. So,
dirty.
yeah, really sad, really sad.
Okay, so they become fully intimate. I'm reading a little bit of a synopsis here. Become fully intimate, they admit their feelings, and then the following morning she overhears him and he is covering up for himself and he's like, "No, no. I slept with her so I could find out if she was a witch." Which people get mad
Not
about that.
true.
We know, I know that was not true. But anyway, I digress. So he pretends his feelings are fake. She overhears him. She's really upset. She's like, don't talk to me ever again. Never again. Bye. I'm done. She runs to brother Alex, which not her brother, Gideon's brother. And, and did I ever hit record? Yes. Okay. Whew, fright.
That's what I was just looking right now. I was like,
So she runs to Alex for comfort, and Alex is like, "I love you," because here I go. Alex does love Rune because he knows all the things about Rune, and I do think he truly loves Rune. So he's like, "I love you, Rune. Come away with me. Like, marry me. I'm leaving. I want you to come with me so we can go somewhere that doesn't hate witches, where you don't have to die." Okay. So he's like, we're gonna go by boat. She's like, okay, here we go. Like, this is love. Like, he loves me. Gideon did not love me for who I was. So Alex does. And maybe my feelings will come eventually because, right, she's just his friend. Okay. So then she's gonna go and it's just a big old blow up. That's kind of when Gideon finds out who Rune is, like that she's actually a witch. And Gideon goes to go arrest everybody when they're trying to, I guess, leave. And so Rune is about to be executed for being a witch. Alex says, "Me too." Like, if you kill her, you're gonna hang me too, or execute me too. And another key part was that Verity, who is Rune's best friend, turns out to be Cressida
hmm.
in disguise. So that is another thing that happens
And
here.
her like apartment was fake and
Yeah, it was like
everything.
all magicked and all this. So Rune did not know that. And Cressida is like the worst person, the worst witch villain. She's very much like I think I told Hilary, like Amarantha from Akatar. Like she's just horribly evil.
Or what's the lady from Throne of Glass?
Oh
You
yeah,
just read
Maeve.
it. Maeve, yeah.
And horrible to Gideon specifically, which comes into play in book two. So anyway, so then Rune casts a so Alex sacrifices himself to spare Gideon because Gideon is about to get shot by Cressida, and Alex steps in front of him and dies. And I was so
Hmm.
upset. So he dies. Gideon is like, well, because Rune is getting away. So Rune does magic and she sets off an earthquake. she's getting away on the boat with, the witches, and Gideon is like, I will find you. I don't know. It's like, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hunt
Yeah.
you down. He's still mad. Like, there is no reconciliation. He's like, she's a witch. Like, she got my brother killed, this and that. So he's like, that's it. I'm gonna keep hunting you until I find you and kill you. And scene.
Okay, so we start off Rebel Witch. Something I thought was interesting. I don't have a ton of notes, just a little bit. But one thing I thought was interesting about Rebel Witch, we start off like a couple months in the future from
Hmm.
where we ended Heartless Hunter. But we see right off the bat, like we're into Gideon's perspective. Um, Gideon's very confused. So like we start
Yeah.
off and we're like, okay, I liked that though. I that helped me quite a bit because you're like, oh man, like you remember, like, yes, her sailing off, and he's like, I'm gonna hunt you down and I'm gonna kill you. Like, and I mean, understandably so, they have like a lot of problems, like legitimate for real problems between them. That's why I loved Heartless Hunter because they weren't just like these imagined, like, "Ugh, does he think I'm ugly?" Like, none of that. Like, it was
Yeah.
like you have for real problems that I don't even know how y'all are gonna fix this. But we start off with Gideon's perspective, and he's very misinformed about a lot of stuff. So that helped me view like his perspective because you're like, oh my God, he's an asshat. And, like all these things that you just said about him,
Hmm.
which are true. But from his perspective, he is like, I
Yeah.
loved her. And next thing I know, she's marrying my brother. Like he's like, I
Hmm.
thought we were okay, and then she's marrying my brother, and then I find out she's the person I've been trying to find for years. Like she pulled a fast one over me, and also, a witch, which Gideon's entire family now has been killed
Hmm.
by these people. So it's definitely some prejudice. Yes, abuse, tortured, all his
Yeah.
family has been killed. So he does have some prejudice against witches. So he's like dealing
Hmm.
with that. And then, yes, and Rune did play because, and then he's like, well, it was all fake for her because she was just trying to pull a fast one on me to break,
Hmm.
witches free, which she was. That's what's confusing is he was right. But then he's like, but she was in love with my brother. I don't know. So anyway, Gideon does not have the whole perspective, but I appreciated that his point of view that we knew like, okay, no, he's not right about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I liked this book because of that. You saw the starting point for their relationship because everything in
Yeah.
book one was essentially like a lie on both
Hmm.
parts. I do think that she knew who he was, but he never fully knew who she was.
That's the other note that he believed that Rune was conspiring with Cressida this entire time. So that's
Yeah,
what he thinks. He's like, wow, she's been tricking me this whole time. Meanwhile, her BFF like has been Cressida and the woman that was abusing me for years and killed my whole family
yeah.
and betrayed me. And so that's all he knows. He's like they both in together pulled a fast one on me and she slept with me and said all these things just to make me look like an idiot and get access to my stuff. So after like we saw his perspective, I was like, I can see why he's like, yeah, I need to go kill you to end this war or this potential uprising that's happening.
Yeah.
But it was also, it felt like partially it felt like he was using the war as an excuse because it definitely seemed more personal. Like, yes, part of it was, political, but mainly it felt like personal, like he was hurt. His feelings were hurt.
Yeah, and I think also like it was just like what you said, like that's just what he did. Like that was his job and part of who he was for so long of like hating the witches. So I feel like it I think it was her I think it was, yeah, both. Like I think it was her thinking of all the things that she did that he thought she did and also like getting his brother killed and but yeah, yeah, definitely I think like revenge was part of it too.
Okay, so we start off the book though in Rune is announcing her engagement to the prince. And, she's in like this. I love these scenes in Heartless Hunter, and I'm glad we got some of them here. Like the glitzy, like, I don't know, it just felt like very glamorous thing. And so, anyway, she's very devastated because Alex's song, how did they get Alex's song? I don't know.
I
But
wondered that too.
I was like, she acted like he wrote it. And I'm like, how did they get
I
it
was
then?
like,
I
was
don't
he
know.
famous?
I don't know. Um, unless it was just something he played often. I
Yeah.
don't know. So she runs away, hides in the bathroom, and then that surprised me right off the bat. Like I didn't know. I didn't expect him literally to find her right away and then like to hold a gun to her head. I was like, "Oh my gosh. We are like starting quick." I mean, I feel like that was chapter 1 or 2, like
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Yeah. I was surprised too. I was like, oh, I mean, it is like literally from start to finish, go time.
Yeah. So that was really good. I love that scene. Oh, like and that was what convinced me. Like that I think that was like in the first couple chapters. I was like, okay, like the tension is still there with them. The like you still have the are they going to, are they not? And I didn't know like because how high stakes this book is. I'm like, she killed Alex off. She killed a lot of characters off in the last book, and Verity was fake. I don't know. I'm like, I truly don't know where this is gonna go. So I love that scene. And I think right off the bat, I could tell like Rune was hurt with Gideon, but I don't feel like she was that angry with him. Like he was definitely like, I'm going to kill you, but I didn't get that vibe from her that she was like,
No.
I'm gonna kill you. She was like, no, I care about this guy. I'm hurt.
And yeah, I think she gets into her denial a lot in this book also. Again, she wants to rescue him immediately. Like she doesn't want him to die.
Yeah, like she doesn't kill him right off the bat, and he doesn't kill her either,
But
but
she's like telling herself, "Oh, it's because of Alex."
I need him.
She's like, "I feel bad, guilt." She feels guilt, a lot of guilt. And that's interesting to see too. What a weird dynamic. Strange. That was the blip, her ever agreeing to marry Alex. That was the blip that was like messed up
Why?
everything. Yeah, like that was a mistake.
Yeah, big mistake. Honestly, I feel like that's why what created the most issues with them, though. Gideon and
Ooh.
Rune.
Okay, with Cressida and that whole scene in like the beginning, so I just gross. I feel like her character,
Oh, how she was like
I
gonna
don't
rape him.
know. Yes, it makes me feel like sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said she's like Amarantha.
Mm-hmm.
Like degrading and gross. I was stressed out. It just stressed me out.
I have a question about them. Were they
What?
in love? Like, was he? No, sorry, I don't think she ever loved him.
No.
Did he love her? Or was he
Yes.
always
No.
abused by
I
her?
mean, from what I reread Heartless Hunter, it very much sounded like he was in love with her and that she was using him, 100% using him. And then it was like, oh, I don't have the choice. I don't think it was like that from the start.
When he was like, I'm out, she's like, no, you're
Yeah,
not.
I think he was like her plaything. Okay, because you haven't seen Vampire Diaries here. Everything comes back to this for me. Why? I don't know. But in Vampire Diaries, there's a character like this where she is very much like just everybody's at her disposal. And so, like, oh, like when they're chasing after me, it's like, oh, yeah, like they're her little playthings. But then as soon as they are like not interested anymore, she's like, oh, no, like you don't get the choice to just leave. Like, you're mine. And so I felt like that vibe with Cressida, where she's like, no, has this gross obsession, like possession, I guess, of
Mm-hmm.
Gideon.
Like you will not.
And
Like,
she
yeah,
puts that
just like
curse on him.
you usually see that in characters like with men
Hmm.
of over women, but I thought it was interesting to have it like reversed, like that men can be the victim too. And
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. And I was very surprised um when they killed, what was that girl's name? I don't even know. She was gone so quick.
Yeah. In the bathroom.
Yeah, immediately. And so that was like the first sign though, I think the softening very quick of Gideon to Rune. Like and so I think the reader was able to see the like you're like, oh, okay, Gideon still has a soft spot for Rune for sure. I don't think Gideon got that at all. I was gonna ask you, like, at what point do you think he fully, I guess we can talk about that in a minute, but the reader could see, like, okay, he still, like, he didn't shoot her right off the bat. He saw her and he was like, ah, I can't kill her. That was like immediate. He's like, I can't do it. And then he let her pull him into the closet and do the little casting or whatever on him.
Mm-hmm.
And even though like he was disgusted or she thought he was disgusted by witch like because she was a witch,
Mm-hmm.
but he let her do the spell or whatever. And so I thought that was interesting. And then also it was interesting how he noticed the difference between Cressida, like her magic and Rune's magic. Like they smelled different, they felt different.
Mm-hmm.
Um that was the first thing I guess he noticed that they were like hers smelled like death basically and Rune's was like the outdoors or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. Yeah, yeah. So then that was where the curse happened. Cressida was like, I'm gonna give you a I don't know why did she do that? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh,
This was when she did
yeah.
it. I'm trying to think of
Yeah, so I missed that was when she did it, I get. But he always had a branding on him. He's
yeah,
always had that.
he
But
always
she
had a branding, but she put a curse on it to make it to where he could not be with his true love,
skin to
skin
skin.
to skin.
Physically, I guess, yeah.
Anytime he was skin to skin with his true love, he would it would be pain, like it would intensify in pain, so that she would never he would never get to be with anybody else other than I mean, not
Her.
even I don't know other than just he was not going to be with anybody else.
He could never be with anybody he loved.
Yeah, but we don't know that at this
We
point.
just know she was torturing him. And
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting too, like how Rune had this like primal instinct of she just could not let him. I kept thinking of the Taylor Swift song Invisible String, like these two from childhood, as we learn in Heartless Hunter. They don't refer that to that in this one, but from childhood to now, every step of the way, it's like their paths are drawn together, and she they both have many chances to like betray the other person or turn their back on them or kill them. And it's like one time after time, which I guess he didn't kill her first. And she was like, that's weird. And then she was thinking, I know he hates me. I know he's disgusted by me, but I can't let him stay with Cressida. Like, no way. That's too cruel. So she saves him, gets him off the hook. Like we said, kills the other guard. And he gets her back in the room.
mm-hmm.
And then he's so insistent. Like he wants to kill her so bad. And they have that scene in the dressing room
But
and
also it wasn't because we were saying why he wanted to kill her, but also a big part of it was his whole livelihood.
his job. Yeah. They said he had to prove himself. Like, are you actually loyal or not? And if you can basically keep your job or die.
Because they were like, weird that you were like sleeping with her.
And now she's gone.
Yeah, so it seemed like he was in cahoots. But yeah, then yeah, the dressing room scene. This is where it all is though. The whole duology. I love it so much because like you do have, and I know some people get annoyed that it's like, okay, this again. I love that it is still this constant like cat and mouse game, and you never know who is the cat, who is the mouse. Like they both are the predator, like at all the
Hmm.
moments. And then it's like
Equals. They're
yes,
equals.
she'll overhear him like she'll be 3 steps ahead. They mentioned that several times. She's like 3 steps ahead of him.
But so is he.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so is he. So then he'll overhear her, she overhears him, and then they're both just like using that information to like try to outsmart each other. And so I love it. And that starts early on. So yeah, he's trying to get her and
He kidnaps her basically.
but then she pretty much ends up kidnapping him.
Yeah. He's like, I got her. I have her at gunpoint. I'm taking her out. And then they run to the alley. And she's like, here are our suitcases. Let's go. And he's like,
Yeah,
what? What is
and
going on?
she's
So
like,
he's
grab
like,
him.
yeah, and she's like, "Let's you grab both of them. Let's go." Like she has him, on a wrapped around her finger. And so they run on the boat and
Pretend to
they
be married. I was
yeah,
like,
she's like, "This is my new
we're
husband," in her wedding dress. Like she planned it all. She's
Yes.
like, "This is my wedding dress," and he's in his suit, and we're Mr. and Mrs. What's his Sharp. And
Yes.
so, which is funny
And
because then you have the fake marriage for
yeah.
a while. You have one bed because they're sleeping in this closet. Um, so good. I loved this like boat
Mm-hmm.
thing because it created this like isolated situation for them to be in, but it was still like so tense because they've told Gideon there's a spy. And so he knows there's a spy, but she doesn't know there's a spy. So he's like, well, this is where like I think Gideon's denial was just like so strong. Like he's like, I want to stop the spy to stop them from getting her, but not because I care about her. It's because I want to actually find the Roseblood heir because they kept talking about how Cressida says, "I'm going to resurrect my sisters and we're going to rule," whatever. He's like, it's actually to stop that plan, and that's why I want to stop that.
But also, he was like, well, if the spy sees me with her, I'm once again gonna look like I'm in cahoots. So like
Like I'm running away with
he's
her.
like, I need to find the spy first so I can tell them, no, no, I'm arresting her.
Oh my God. I kept thinking I think it's like the Friends episode, where it's like, I know,
Oh yeah.
I know, but I don't know. They don't know that we know that they know.
Yeah. I loved all of that. The married, and then how because she booked the only thing they had left, which was third class, and he was like, she doesn't know. Like, she has no clue what it's gonna be like on third class. I thought that was
And it's so
funny
funny because that we see that all the time. Like he just assumed the worst of her a lot. Like he was just like he kept
because
saying
he's
that over and over.
insecure.
Yes, he's like,
Yeah.
she's not good enough for me, which is funny
No,
because
no.
he's like, I also hate that she's a witch,
No,
but
no.
he's like, she's rich.
He thinks she's
Oh, sorry,
too
sorry.
good.
She's too good for me.
Yes.
And because she's rich and this socialite and grew up
Mm-hmm.
very wealthy, and he grew up, it's funny because he grew up poor, but I don't get the feeling that he is poor anymore.
I
But I
think
guess he grew up
it's in your
poor.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, he grew up lower status, worked his way up, and she was like old money, has been there forever. So anyway, he just consistently says that like, oh, she's not gonna like this music, she's not gonna like these people, she's not gonna like this room, she can't even cook for herself, like on and on. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't see really any of that from Rune ever. Like, and throughout the whole book, we don't see her ever like looking down on people for their money. If anything, like he mentions that she was like, I love your clothes, I love your suit, it's so like fashionable and vintage. Like she has never been like, you're
Mm-hmm.
trash. But he keeps saying, it's like his narrative that she
Mm-hmm.
thinks he's trash.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Like that's just throughout the whole thing. And then on the boat, we also get like the jealousy, which
we
I
have to talk
actually,
about we have to talk about Abby
well, yeah. Okay,
and
just
Will.
I loved the jealousy elements because it just made it very stressful to me, which apparently I enjoy. So you
Yeah,
tell us about Abby.
I okay, well, for Will, I love seeing Gideon become like that's where again his denial where he's like, I'm doing it for me, but like the reader sees, you're like, oh no, 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 like you're just jealous. He's like, he is just a man and I know what men want. Like
Oh
there's no
yeah.
other reason he would care other than he has feelings. Like if you didn't have feelings, you don't care. um so I loved that. I texted Hannah on one of those scenes that he was like, "Get the hell off of my wife," or something like that. I was like, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But I was like, giving the readers what they want. I told Taylor, I'm like, there's something about it. Like, I always see like women post, they're like, I think I'm a feminist. Like, I want a woman to stand up for herself, but there's something about like books that bring out the like innate, like, yes, you love it when a man's like, that's my wife, or you don't touch
Mm-hmm.
my wife. I don't know. And Taylor's like, it's just like a primal thing in you. Like it's an instinct that is what,
Mm-hmm.
like a feminine you want a man. Obviously, you want a man that supports you and supports your independence, but there is something really attractive about a man that's like, she's mine and get your hands off of my wife. So
Yeah.
I thought that was like super attractive. I loved that. Loved all that with Will. We'll talk about that in a second. But then with Abby, oh, I hated Abby. Hate. But
I
it was
know.
necessary. It was a necessary evil for the plot. But
Mm.
I was like, this little slime bag. Like, she just saw them in a wedding dress, and she's like, I don't care what you've been tricked into getting, what debts, gambling debts, or like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
She was like, she's not your type,
She's the
Gideon.
one who thinks he's
Because he's
trash.
been with her, right? He was with her, is the point.
Yeah.
He had
Not as
been,
a, not even a dating, just casual hooking up, it sounds
yeah,
like.
well, see, this is why, guys, this is why I'm like, this is a perfect example. Watch who you do the deed with, because they'll come back
Yeah.
to haunt
She
you
thinks
later.
she owns
She
you.
does. She's like, well, I'm your woman. And she's like seducing Gideon in his room. And she's like, just kiss me. I don't know. I'm sure she said it better
She
than
kissed
that.
him. No, she
Yeah.
just kissed him.
So she like kisses him. And then whenever, what was it? Whenever Rune finds out, I was like,
Because Will's like, your
yeah.
husband's up there with another
Yeah.
woman.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, gross. Anyway, so then there's a moment though that I thought was nice. So whenever she like confronts him about it, he said, yes, I did kiss her. And so whatever, he's telling her about it. And Rune is like, um, it the thought of his mouth on Abby's felt like a bullet in her heart, which made no sense. He was planning to kill every single witch that she'd come here to save. He was plotting against her even now. He was a cold-hearted brute. Abby could have him, but Rune's heart and her head refused to align. They were two ships on different courses. Her heart had gone rogue a long time ago. And I was like,
Yeah. So
so
I feel like she accepted it earlier. She's
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, I have it bad for this guy. Like, anytime she touched him, anytime she's like, I have feelings for him. Oh, and then we keep coming back to that. The dream that she had in the boiler room, whatever, like, that's where he's like, this is weird. She's like, we found out later that she said his name while she was dreaming and he heard her because she's like, did you
Oh,
hear anything? And we keep coming back to that. Like he is like stuck to that. That stuck in his brain. And she's like, no, nothing, nothing. I didn't dream about anything. But I think that's when he was like, oh, maybe she does like care. Well, he's a dummy. I'm like, Gideon is so dumb. But um yeah. And the kiss. I hated that. So I hated that. I don't know why though, because I'm like, he's not married. He's actually not married, not dating Rune. There's like no betrayal.
I was like, how dare you, sir?
I know, but I'm like, he's not even with her in any way at all. But still,
Because
um,
because at
sh-
this point, hadn't he had kissed Rune and felt pain, right?
oh yes, 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 yes. They were dancing,
Yes.
and he was like, I think I like her. I think I'm really
But
attracted to her.
he had to kiss her, he said, because she had to hide her glamour was wearing off. He was like, we have to distract. I don't want them to see your
Yeah,
face. So he's like, well, let me kiss her and that'll cover her face up. So then he was in pain though, and Rune interpreted it as he is
disgust.
so disgusted with me. And so anyway, that just happened. And then Abby goes to kiss him and he's like, "Oh, shocked, not into it." But then he's like, "I'm going to kiss her back so I can see
To
like
see
if it causes me the same reaction as
I
Rune
think
did."
we did need this for the plot though, I will say, because I know I would be in here after I finished the book and been like, we don't know. Like, it
Yeah.
could be he kissed anyone, like maybe, which this showed it wasn't just Rune. Like, if things didn't work out with Rune and it worked out with someone else, you know what I mean? Like, he fell in love with another woman, he still would not have been able to be with her because of this curse. So I think it was kind of important to make that noted what exactly Cressida did. So
Hmm.
anyway, I think it was necessary, but I hated it.
Yeah, because it didn't hurt with her is the point.
Yeah. So it was we find out later it was a love, but we all knew that, whatever. So anyway, I loved the boat stuff. And then I loved whenever William was, everyone's trying to take advantage of Rune. Trying to take advantage of Rune. Gideon shows up. It says he was like prowling behind him and has the gun and he's like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna throw him off the ship. And I'm like, yes. And then it made me sad though how she overheard their conversation and he's like, just kidding, William. I'm actually not. I'm actually, unveils his whole plan. And that's what the first one of the first questions I did have. Like, was Gideon at this point, as a reader, I was confused. Was Gideon at this point like where was he at? Was he still like team New Republic? I am still tricking Rune. I am still on this plan. Or was he like, no, I actually have like an under, I know he didn't want Rune to hear him, but was he like, no, I'm actually tricking the New Republic now in order to help Rune? Like, had he switched over loyalties at this point or not yet? Was he truly like, yeah, I'm gonna tell him I'm still planning to turn her in and betray her?
I think he is like just hot mess disaster. I don't like he's like scrambling. I feel like he's like just I don't know, like in a spiral where he
He can't decide.
he cares about her, but then like, his job is on the line, like his life is on the line. He could get executed for that. I don't know that he has any answer. And then, but I do know like at that after that scene with William and she overhears him and she goes to bed and he comes and he wanted to talk to her about it.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's why it confused me. He's like, "Hey, that kiss."
I have it right here. And this is the end of part one. So he wants to talk about it. And she's like, please, let's forget it ever happened. And he said that he was silent for a long moment. And he finally said, if that's what you want. And she said, yes, that's what I want. So so I don't know. Part of me thinks that he's like I think he is so hurt by book
Confused.
one that he doesn't know what to believe. Doesn't know if it's what's true, which is fair.
Yeah, poor Gideon. And poor
Okay.
Rune. That made me so sad.
Okay, that's part one.
Okay, I forgot something. I want to go back to something. When Rune and Gideon were arguing, they had a scene. There's a couple scenes, but in the couple scenes on the boat, one, Rune told Gideon that because he's like stuck on that, like you were gonna marry my brother. Like I'm so confused. You said you have feelings for me, but you're gonna marry Alex, and it's really bothered him how she still worn the ring from Alex. So one, Rune tells Gideon, I would have married you in a heartbeat if you would have wanted me, if
Oh
you
yeah.
turned me in. You are the one who rejected me. I ran to Alex out of safety. Two, she gave Gideon the ring. So she took it off and gave it to him. She's like, here, it bothers you so much. She's like, I'm wearing it because I miss him. I cared about him as a friend. And like you said, maybe I could grow to love him. I loved him, but not like that. But maybe I would grow to love him. But he wasn't trying to kill me. But this bothers you. Here, take the ring. And so I thought that was kind of noteworthy that she, yet again, I feel like Rune often humbles herself and is like, hey, this bothers you, take it. Like trying to show trust or I don't know, make it easier to trust her, helping Gideon, I guess, see like glimpses of the true her. But
Mhm.
anyway, they get off the boat and they're into the New Republic. That's what they call it, right? Formerly known as Cascadia. And so they're there. He gets Rune off the boat thanks to William, sick. And he sneaks her to his apartment. Am I missing anything? Um, and then immediately, like, the soldiers know that Gideon's there, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna search your house. And so he sneaks Rune up on the roof.
Mhm.
And they take him in for questioning. And something I did make a note that he sneaks her up on the roof, and she's overheard everything, by the way, everything that William and Gideon have said. And they take him away, and she says, like, I really hope I'm not gonna have to get off this roof and go save him. So even after all of that, all of like she's accepted, as we said. Like if he's in danger and they're gonna kill him, I'm begrudgingly going to have to go save him because she cares about him.
Yeah, and there's like this we're also seeing a lot of internal conflict with Gideon where he is seeing like he has always seen the witches as like the cruel side, which is true, there has been. But now he is seeing the human side is also part of the problem. The Blood Guard, is that what they're called? They have
Yeah.
um one of the witches in custody where she can see
Aurelia or yeah.
what can she see? Like premonition?
She's a seer, I guess, or Sybil, I don't know what that is, but she can locate where other witches are.
So
Yeah.
they've been using her and they like she looks like he sees her because whenever he gets back and they take him to arrest him, they're like, "You're coming with us." And he goes, and when he's being questioned, they have this, he's telling them, okay, the witches, what Hillary said, like they're planning to resurrect, Cressida's going to resurrect her siblings and whatever, whatever. And they have the witch.
Side note, another word for Sybil is oracle,
Okay,
if
yes.
that helps. Yeah.
And so they have her in captivity, and like she looks just like haggard and like gaunt. And Gideon finds out that they're using her daughter
Uh,
to.
that scene made me feel sick.
Me too. So, and they do it in front of, like, you see it where they're like, bring her in. And she's little. She's like, I think
Like
three.
two?
Yeah,
Yeah,
two.
little.
She's little. And so they're keeping her. And they say that, like, the daughter is, like, well taken care of. You can tell. But they bring her in. They're, like, threatening to, like, break her finger or cut her
Cut
finger off.
off her arm off.
Yeah. And so the mom is obviously, like, traumatized and doing
I
whatever
don't
they
blame
tell her to
her. I
do.
don't blame her.
No, and so anyway, so Gideon sees this though, and my point is that Gideon is like not feeling good about this. Like
He's
he is
like,
like,
well, this side is just as evil as the other side.
yeah. So,
It's the same behavior, just on the other side.
and I feel like this is kind of when Gideon starts to be like
I don't
switch
like
sides,
this. Yeah.
where it's like, okay, and so at this point now we kind of enter the next scenario where
So
he,
he gets guarantee from them. Like they're like, "Hey Gideon, you're like really on a short leash right now." And he's like, "No, no, I this is my plan. Give me what was it, 2 days?" They said the Cressida's army and whatever, who Soren, they're gonna be here in three, we think. So you have 2 days to bring us the Roseblood heir, figure out who that is, find them, kill them, and turn Rune in. So get her back so we can trade her for um back to Soren so we can stop this war, right? And and then he's like, okay, okay. Um, yeah, so then he goes back to Rune, but that, yes, I think that like messed him up. He's like, wow, now we're abusing children,
yeah.
like children, and it's just evil. Like very clearly, like anyone watching it, it was like repulsive, that scene to me. Because with this Kristen, I'm like, who knows? She really could have them cut off this baby's hand. I don't know. And so they don't. But Gideon goes to Rune and he's like, hey, I need your help. I need your help with a heist. We need to go get this baby out of the home. And he wanted the mom. That's why he wanted the mom. He was going to break her out. But the mom's like, I'm not leaving anywhere without my kid. So Gideon is like, we have to go get the kid. So that scene, I liked this scene a lot. We saw more like jealousy of Gideon to Rune. Like Rune flirts. That's what she does. Like, and if you remember, like that's what she did book one. Like that was her MO. Like she flirted, kissed. Oh, there was like she would never cross a certain line. That's why with Gideon it was special. But like she would never do more than kiss, right? I think that's what it was.
Hmm.
Um, but that's what she did. Like she flirted her way to saving these people, basically. But he was super jealous. He's like, you didn't have to you know, throw yourself at him and this whole thing, trying to get into the house. And so I love that. And then I loved the library scene. That's what I think that is where like he fully was, I think that's where he was like, okay, I'm not gonna kill her anymore. Because she said something about, you're just disgusted by me. And I liked it because it was like finally some communication with them that like all on the table. She's like, you're grossed out by me, you're disgusted by me.
Yeah.
That's why. And he was like, no, 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 that's not true. Which I was proud of him finally for saying something about it.
Yeah, he was like, "What?" Huh?
He's like, I'm not disgusted. But
Yeah,
I, you
yeah,
know
yeah,
what?
yeah.
I thought this was gonna take a disgusting turn, like a vulgar turn, to be like, I'll show you how not disgusted I am, which I feel like some spicy books do. And he didn't do that, thank God. He was like, no, actually look at the issue, like feel my scar, whatever. And so that I like that. Like she finally understood. Um, I mean, he didn't bear his feelings to her very much, but he was like, no, I find you very attractive. I'm not disgusted by you.
Yeah, and they have that whole conversation where he's like, "You just flirt with people. That's what you did to me." She's like, "No, I didn't." Or, like they have the whole conversation of what they've assumed about each other this whole time. And so yeah, I like that. And then you're stressed out the whole time because they're hiding in the library and you know that the guards
You
are
can, like,
gonna.
people are walking by the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so they're waiting to get the kid and the guards are there and they're like, "Well, when are they going to find out that we're not where we're supposed to be?" So you have that constant stress. And she confronts him about Abby at this point. She's like, "Well, you kissed Abby."
And
Um,
he said, yeah, you've been kissing Soren the whole time. You think I liked watching that? And she's like, I hate that man.
yeah, she's like, "That's not the same that, whatever." All this stuff. And
So they
yeah, okay.
kiss. They kiss.
So they
And so she got to actually see what he was talking about, like the pain thing. And so that's when she decides, hey, she's convinced, okay, I'm going to find a way. If there's a way to break this curse, I am going to do it.
And that's something too that like I feel like they're getting closer and closer to the same side because the whole time I'm thinking like I understand where both of them are coming from. I understand where he's coming from because where he has been with Cressida, and then I understand where she's coming from because she's like, "What's my other choice?" Because I judge her harshly. I'm like, "Why are you teaming up with Cressida? Like you know what she did to Gideon, so
Hmm.
I can't
But
even
that's
like."
the only side that's going to
Yeah,
offer her a chance to live.
exactly. So I go back and forth, but I feel like they're both kind of coming to the same middle where like he is realizing, okay, these people are monsters and
Like
she
neither option.
yeah, and she's like, yeah, I understand that they're monsters. Like what else do we have?
I
And
think
that
that's
is
a
go ahead.
um the overlying theme of the whole book because you keep coming back to she's like there are two choices, black or white, this or this, and then Gideon finally gets there that he's like, no, there's a third option because they keep saying like, well, you die or I die, that's it,
Yeah.
pick one. And it was Gideon who finally, God, like he was like, no, there's another option in this. So that's what they're talking about, like with politics, with their relationship. Like Rune only saw the extremes, like the black and the white, understandably so. So they break out the baby, Meadow, baby Meadow, and then they get Orly to help them to get to the stones, and then they do the little spell to summon the Roseblood heir. I did not see that coming. Did you?
Okay.
I don't guess twists much ever
No.
though.
So I thought it. I remember back when they were like, "Oh, there's a lost or like there's a sibling or something." I remember they said that and I thought, "Huh, I wonder if that's Rune." But then no, it went away from my mind. I got all caught up in the whole Rune and Gideon and I did not even give it like any other thought. And so then whenever Gideon's watching and he sees that she comes into the circle, I was like, "Oh my
I
God."
know. That's when I texted you. I was
And then
like,
she didn't know.
I know, sleepwalking. Ugh.
She's like, it didn't work. The summoning didn't happen.
That was a great twist though, that Gideon knew and
Yeah.
she didn't. I thought that was lovely though, because that allowed him to know something really bad and dangerous about her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like something that
Yes,
he
and that
had to forgive and trust. Like, and he never told anyone.
And that is something that I feel like that's why I loved this book so much because in book one, I can get behind the Sask. She loved him. He did not give a hoot at the end of the day whenever he finally knew who she was. And in this book, we see that where it's like, okay, he's struggling with who she is and still loves her anyway. And I was just, yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, and she didn't know. So she's like, "Wow, what a flop, whatever."
Yeah.
And so they move on. So I thought that was crazy, and I did not I did that was kind of crazy. It makes me want to reread book 1, which you just did, but I want to reread it again to see like did I miss something? Like was she plotting this whole time or is this something Kristen just made up in this second book?
In somebody, I was Betty reading this with somebody, and she told me that she called this. She was like, I remember that Rune was adopted, and
Mhm.
so like that the parents were not her parents. I mean, like she was adopted by her grandma, but that she was not a relative. And I did not know, I did not make that connection at all, ever. I never thought about it.
I didn't either. I was just like it's her grandma. That's it.
Yeah. So, but no, apparently, I mean, it said the people knew that she was adopted, that she was not the actual blood relative. I did not think about it, did not notice.
So yeah, she planned it then the whole time. So it was good. It was a good little twist. So then, okay, what else am I? So I think Gideon at this point, he's it. That's it. He switched over. He was like, I know she's a Roseblood heir. I know she's gonna be the one that has to die. And he was like, it's not gonna happen. That's it. Like I don't think I could be wrong. You prove show me if I'm wrong, but I think after this, he was like, no. Because before that, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna chase you down. Because he told her, remember, like she escaped to go do this. He's like, I'll give you a head start, but I'm gonna chase you down. And then after this, he was like, that's the only other option. Like, Rune's the one that has to die. And that was kind of his
Mm-hmm.
deal breaker. He was like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and then we had a moment somewhere in here, I don't know exactly when. This is something I don't know the answer to. Maybe as more people read it, other people will see it that I'd missed it. But there are several moments in this book that Rune sees something because we talked about the other seer. What was her name?
Aurelia
Aurelia, how they're like something happens with her eyes and she sees.
glazed over, yeah.
Yes, and that happens to Rune several times. And I don't know, like
Yeah.
it's never explained to what I picked up. I never saw it explained several times. So she sees her and Gideon in the future with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and then another time she sees Gideon shooting her, right? In the rain.
No, she sees him standing in the rain.
That's
She
it?
thinks it's in the rain. Yeah. But we find out later it was not the rain, it was in
Okay.
the
So
stream or
so she
whatever.
sees these things and like he says it, like he notices. He's like, "Oh, what? Something happened with your eyes. Did you see something?" And then it just moves on. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that wasn't explained very well. Okay, I want to get to some stuff, so let me skip over some stuff. So Rune and Aurelia, they leave on the boat. Aurelia betrays her. And then we find out that she leaves a note. She's like, "Oh, I knew you if you saw this, you would go back." Gideon left a note on the boat for Rune. So he knew the whole time that what she was going to do. Again, so he was a step ahead of her and he left her a little like a necklace and so she's like, "Oh my God, you know, they're going to kill him." So, but before she can go back, we know Cressida gets her, whips her with an inch of her life. They tell
Oh,
her
yeah.
that she's the heir. So she keeps her alive and takes her back to the New Republic. And Rune's back where she started. And yeah, that was a whole mess too. So now Rune's like a slave, right? And Gideon's also in captivity as well. He was trying to find the missing, no, the bodies, the sisters, but he was caught. And so everyone's in captivity. We're at that point. Where is it like the darkest part of the night? All hope is lost. Like Gideon's facing execution. Um, Rune is only being kept alive for now, and then everyone's in trouble.
Yeah, which at this point the witches are in control now, right?
Yeah, they've gone to war. Yes. And so Well, not yet, almost. Um, Gideon's in trouble with his own people. And
Yeah.
then
Yes.
like everyone wants to kill Gideon now. But then the war starts when Gideon thinks he's being executed, the war is starting, and then what's her name? Not Lydia, whatever her name is. Lena, Lady, Lydia, I don't know, whatever. Noah's
Yes.
sister, she saves him. So he's saved by Harrow, he's saved by um that girl, I can't remember her
I
name.
think it is Lydia.
I don't think it's Lydia, it's Layla. Layla, sorry.
Layla. Yeah.
So he's saved by several people, which I liked. I liked that Gideon's like friends in book one did end up coming in clutch. Like they trusted his character. They were like, I don't understand everything, but I know he's good. So I think that was helpful too for us to see like Gideon is actually has a good heart. So they help him. And then Juniper helps and Seraphine, they
Mhm.
help Rune escape because like you have to go. So she goes, gets assaulted by what's his name? Soren,
Yep.
and she
Oh
I was
yeah.
shocked by that.
She
He
killed
like
him.
she just shot him in the head and murdered him. I shouldn't say murder, sorry, self-defense. But she was like remembered that Gideon had told her if you ever like if someone ever hurts
Yeah.
you, you and you can't, get out of it, you pull the trigger. And she remembers him saying that and kills him. I was like, "Oh my God." I was surprised.
Okay, but I liked it though because
Yeah,
in book one of my complaints, which I still that was my favorite book of the year, but one of my complaints was that we like she's this assassin or like you know what I mean? Like she's this like
badass
yeah,
and can't do
badass.
it.
But I'm like, but then we don't ever see it though. Like we don't really see that side of her, I guess. But then I felt like we saw it a lot more in this book, which I liked. So yeah, okay, continue on. So she goes, she leaves, she escapes.
Um, I wanted to say I think I had a note here about the boat. I said I think that's what Gideon had to do. He had to do that for Room to trust that he really felt for her. Like that was the action it took, that he knew she was escaping and that he knew and he was going to let her do it and left her know and let her take the boat and everything. So that's why she was like fully okay and trusted him because she's like, he knew everything about me and he still let me go and
And
let me
he
live
sent all the soldiers to the opposite place.
and let her. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he had to prove himself because he's done a lot of bad. He had to prove himself to Rune to where she's like, I trust that you are not going to kill me. So I think that was it for her. Um, and then after that, it was like a free fall from there. Like that's when I think I read like till I finished. Um, Basically, I don't know if you want to say it's like into part three, which is just like 100 miles an hour. There is no stopping.
Yeah.
They escape, basically.
There's so much. I'm like, there's too much to cover. But
I
yeah,
know,
so
I'm like, we're gonna need another episode.
I mean, like to what is the gist?
Okay. Rune helps Harrow escape. Harrow's in prison. Rune helps her. And so that was a big trust thing too. So, and then she finds Gideon and they find it. Oh. It's because Rune broke back into her old house and Gideon hears her in the room. And I laughed at that because he's like, I hear something. Let's go look. And she hits him over the head with a candlestick. And I was like, oh my goodness. Of course she does. And so, like, she almost kills him until she's like, oh, Gideon, it's you. And so they're reunited. Um, And then over and over, they have like this like divine intervention. Basically, like they're like, kill her. Layla lets Rune go, and Gideon and her run away, being shot at. And Gideon gets shot several times.
Oh
They end up at that
yeah.
house with Antonio and whatever that guy's name is. I liked Antonio a lot. I thought he had offered a lot of wisdom to
Yeah.
them both. Um, But yes, like Gideon has proven himself every step of the way here. Oh, and someone helped Gideon too. Someone handed him the key to get out. too. So they've just been helped. Like this is just showing them like
Because
there are people on their side.
everybody is coming to that. The good people are coming to the realization that they're like, this is not good. Like
Yeah.
this is not what we wanted in the end. So yeah, I did like that too. We have like a whole rebellion happening.
Yeah. So they this is where a lot happens, but Gideon gets to see Rune's scars, which that I love that scene. Like she was like, I'm hideous, I'm just so disgusting. And which he felt like that about himself. So
Yep.
it was nice to see like him get to extend her like kindness and that was where he kind of called her BS. Like she was terrified. She's like, I need to run. I need to run away. And he's like, what the heck? Like, you're not the woman. That's not the woman I fell in love with. Like, you fight. Like, you fight for justice. That's the whole thing of you. And so she's like, no, I don't. I'm done. I'm running away. I'm getting on this train. And I thought it was really beautiful, like how even Harrow was like, you need to follow her. Make sure she at least gets safely to where she needs to go. I don't know, like Gideon, I just think he's like a great guy so much.
Yeah, I had a moment where I was trying to understand where Rune was coming from because I was like, "What is wrong with you?" But then I think that they kind of explain that like the trauma of like what Cressida did to her
She just had enough, I think. She's just like, what the heck? I've been like, oh.
running.
By the way, when she got beaten up, when she got whipped, she broke the curse, Gideon's curse.
I thought she was gonna die. I thought that's what how she was gonna have to break the curse. I was like,
Yeah, me
anyway,
too.
that's what I thought. And then I
So
thought, yeah,
So
so
anyway, he chases her off the train. They get on the train. I loved that. Like whenever she was in the train and stared at her own reflection, and then she realized that the kids were like her kids, I teared up and I was like, oh.
yeah.
And then the surprise that like Gideon let her go, and then she's the one there that shot another. I was like, oh my God, she killed another person. She's just like trigger happy now.
Yeah, so she saved Gideon again. And then this is the scene, I guess, if you want to skip. There you go, skip. I'm like
Um,
the
the I thought this was interesting just to touch on it. I did think this scene was tastefully done, but I would not call this closed door.
no, it was vague. It was like book one to me. Like book one was I felt open door vague, like low, short.
Like this one was definitely doing the deed. But there was a little more detail. I thought there was a little bit more detail. Like we weren't talking like body part names or anything like that. Um, but a little bit, some detail, enough that I don't
Oh,
feel
yeah.
comfortable calling this
Yeah.
YA at all.
Yeah,
Like
same.
I would say this is an adult book. Um,
It felt like okay, it was fade to black, however, not really.
there was previous
There
activity,
were previous activity and then it fades to black. So you
right?
are there for part of it. And that
Yeah,
is so yeah. So it is not closed door and I would consider it open door based on what we got.
but not like other books for
No,
sure.
it's not. I wouldn't say this is like, oh, it's all over the book. It's literally like a few pages and
It was
to me,
tasteful and it was very clear that they were like, this is it. Like you, and she said, right? Is this when she said, I want you to
yes.
marry me?
Well, she was like, I fantasize about being your wife and
I love it.
I want to have kids. I want to be your wife. And he's like, well, you want to have kids with me? And she's like, yes, there are kids. Being married to, or he tells her, being married to you would be the honor of my life. You're so they're making like a deal. That's kind of what it is. He's like, you'll stay and fight if I marry you. That's what she said. She was like, if you marry me, like I want to stay, I want to fight, but I want to be your wife.
Even me though, I was like, are we sure? Is this it? Like, are they like this? Are they for real? Like, gonna do this? So yeah, they're like engaged, I guess you would call that. So let's talk about the ending. Let's get there. What did you think about the ending? Like how, not the very end, the last scene, how they get the note from Harrow and they go to that, whirlpool or whatever it is. I don't know.
Mhm.
They find the sisters and then they're surrounded. So Rune knows, like, this is it. There's no coming back from this. I have to die because otherwise, like, there's no end. Like, the only end is bad. Like,
Mhm.
so he has to kill me to end it. And then he has to do it so that I can use my blood to save him.
The curse writing, she found a curse book or something at some point, and it said that like once the curse is started, like Cressida would kill her basically. But if that person is already dead, then she can't use her blood
So she's like,
basically.
I just need to die because so Cresta doesn't use me to cause this more chaos. So I agreed with Rune, but I cried
You
for sure.
did?
Yes,
Okay, I thought so here we go, round two.
a
I was like,
lot.
I thought she was gonna die again. I was like, well, that's it. At this point, I thought, no, we're not getting a happy ending.
Yeah, no, I was like, it's gonna be okay. Like they're getting married, like this she saw their children, and then she's like, well, I guess like the children thing not actually gonna happen. I mean, like I was tears, like full tears, just like, like
Oh
I'm like,
my,
oh my
no,
goodness.
I did not cry. I did not cry, but
I was by myself though. I was by myself reading at like midnight, and so I'm just like, like,
emo
and Gideon's crying, I'm crying. This made me, and I was like, no, she's not gonna die. No. And he's like, well, her heart stopped. I'm like, oh my goodness. So she protects him, which is great. I love that part. And I
oh
love that he
yeah.
finally got like his vengeance on her, like that he got to be the one to like take her down. The weird part was like Seraphine was like wisdom. That was kind of weird to me.
I knew that was coming because
I suspected it too when they talked about it. Yes. I didn't need it. I didn't need
no,
it. Honestly, I wanted Gideon to be the one to get the final stab, but it's okay. I didn't need it. But I guess we did need her to bring Rune back. So Rune came
yes.
back and that made me tear up again. And
Did you think she was really gone when you were crying?
yes,
Oh
because it's like
no.
her perspective
And
was gone. That
there
was
were
it.
only a few pages left
Yeah, and
too.
I was like, well, I was like, Kristen, yep, she killed her off. And I was like, that would be a good ending, like sad,
Yeah.
but then she came back and that made me so happy. Like, and then the epilogue, right? That's it, like that's over. And then I think, right? Is that it?
I mean, yeah, like Layla comes with her soldiers, and basically now we have a third, like how we've been saying, like, okay, there's the two
The
sides, and
third option.
yeah, so now we have the third, and Layla comes in, so now you got the soldiers on board.
She said you can quit, you can stay, or go to prison if you're going to be a rebellion. But they said you can also quit and just leave. So they're forming a new government
Yes.
now. So I like that.
And then the next is epilogue 3 months later.
What I loved about this is like I felt like she was leading you to think Rune was escaping her wedding. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, it
And
did
I
seem
was
like
like,
that.
and he's like, where are you going? I was like, oh my God, Rune, like still again, like you're still running away from the wedding. And then she's like tries to seduce him. It's kind of funny. And he's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just trying to kiss my husband. I was like, oh, they're married already. Like,
Yeah.
how many months was like 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
They're already married. Like they got married immediately, and I love it. They're just like once they figured it out, they're like, no, we're getting married. And they're
Yeah.
living back at Wintersea, and they have a new like republic, and she's on parliament, voted onto like a parliament chair. Gideon's what is he, the commander? Is that
Mm,
right?
yeah, something like that. Let me see.
Um, yeah, I loved it. I loved that ending. It was, and she was like, I don't take it for granted anymore. This life, it's just like a beautiful thing, and I loved it. It was perfect. A, I was happy. I was already thinking, we're gonna have an ending with her dead. So,
Yeah, me too.
what I will say, what did you rate the book?
5 stars.
Yeah,
They
I did too.
and I rated it 5 stars. It's like in book one, how I said, oh, like we didn't see any of her assassin life or like, okay, like I could see some
I
questions,
could
but
use more. Yeah.
yeah, but the enjoyability was just 100%. And then with this one, the main question I had was with the eyes, like with her seeing things. I felt like that was mentioned enough times that it should have been explained. And I'm, again, if I missed it, it's possible. But I asked a few people who have read it, and everybody was like, yeah, what was that? Like, we didn't really get the answer. Maybe it doesn't matter ultimately, but I did think, I'm like, well, what was that about? But yeah, I loved it. I thought this was great.
My one small minor gripe was I told Hannah, um, I felt like this one had some modern phrases in it where like we had old phrases like the soldiers would say, we have to make haste, which would be an older phrase. Like you wouldn't really feel like someone would say that now. But then there was not a lot. Honestly, it was at the beginning. Like with Gideon, he would say, huh? Like he would think, huh? Or wait, what? Which I think are more modern things. Like there's a few things like that that I was like, that's a little modern for like the time period that we're in.
Yeah.
But it's such minor. Like I'm just nitpicking right now. And like Hannah said, I think the book was like 1 0 to 100 and like there's no good stopping point ever for you to be like, I'm gonna go to bed now. Like none, no chapter. They all are
Mm-hmm.
a like a full stop chapter, um, cliffhanger chapter. But I don't know. I think adding more would have maybe taken away that like pacing that she wanted, but I would have been okay adding a little bit more. Like maybe turning it into a little medium pacing in somewhere to be like, yeah, tell us a little more about the seer, tell us more about Gideon's process of like more of what he was thinking of like when that change happened. I
Mm-hmm.
would like to have known a little bit like how I was confused, like when did was he really convinced of this or I wasn't sure. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
a little more. Um, but I'm nitpicking. I loved it. Love both of them. And I think she did right in ending it where we're like, I would want to know more instead of like their
Yeah.
other series we've talked about. We're like, oh my God, just end it. Just be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think this is like the perfect duology for people who don't love or like people who are intimidated by fantasy or like if you love romance and you're like, I don't know if I'm into fantasy. I'm like, this is where you should start because I think it's great if you love romance. So,
Yeah, it's like enemies to lover, like I don't know. It's gonna be hard for anybody to top. Here I
yeah.
go again. I'm like, Heartless Hunter took over 2024. Rebel Witch probably will take over 2025 for me.
I've seen some people already that didn't love book one or like didn't like how it ended, but then they're like, okay, this gave me what I needed. And I don't know fully because I loved book one as it was, but I am curious how people feel about this because it very much had the vibes of book one.
hmm
Um, but I felt like that's exactly what I wanted. So I
I'm
liked
just
it.
like Team Gideon, Team Rune, both of them. The character arc, like the character progression to see them grow, all of it. Like they're super flawed, but they grew. They did not stay the same. That's my favorite. Enemies to lovers. We got the fake dating or fake marriage. We got and high stakes. I don't know. I'm like, is there anything at higher stakes than this? I don't think so. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
so.
loved it.
So yeah, it was a great one. All right, well, this was fun. You guys let us know your thoughts if you've read it. Well, hopefully you've read it, I guess, if you're listening to this. So if you've read it, let us know. What did you think? What did you like? What did you not like? Um, yeah. And if you like this, if you would like us to do it again, because maybe we'll do stuff like this more often. So yeah,
Yep, that's
bye.
all. That's all, folks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. If you've made it this far and didn't add this episode to your DNF pile, thanks a bunch.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode for the Don't You Two Read podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our recently read books and hopefully getting to know us better as we begin this podcast journey with you guys.
We will be including timestamps in the description on every episode so you can check there for books or products that we mentioned in today's episode.
Be sure to tune in to our next episode when we will be chatting about all things books. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Don't You Two Read Podcast, and you can find me at Hannah Reads.
And I'm at Hilary Reads. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a moment to follow us? You can also rate and review us wherever you listen. And as always, please share this with all of your bookish friends.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, we hope you have a magical week filled with 5-star reads.